I wanted to take a job as a 10th grade Rebbe. I was learning in yeshiva in Lakewood, and I was offered a job. In those days, it was impossible. There were very few yeshivas, and I was offered a good job. And I went to tell my Rosh Yeshiva, and he looks at me and he says, "You can't be a Rebbe." He felt so bad for those kids.
None of your business, Oshi. None of your business, Michael.
It's the None of Your Business podcast, hosted by Michael and Oshi.
Welcome back, everybody, to another amazing episode of the None of Your Business podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Thank you, Prime Source, for helping us sponsor this amazing journey of ours. Today, we are joined by an amazing individual, Ralph Zucker, who bought this amazing building, the Bell Works, and turned it into a community. And we're going to learn more about this project, his background, and let's get right into it. Here we go. You know what just popped into my head? I'm like thinking, how do I introduce such a person? I'm like, guys, I'm excited for this one because we are here with the one and only, the venerable Mr. Ralph Zucker. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Ralph, I have to tell you, I don't know you personally, but when I looked at the roster of who's coming to the Design and Architect Show, and I saw your name on the panel, I got excited. I said, this is a guy I've heard of, and I know he has something to do with this building. So let's start with that. Where are we right now? We're in the Bell Works building. So much happens in this place.
Yeah, we're actually in the concourse level of Bell Works, what I like to call the world's largest walkout basement. And you can see we have a theater, we've got event space, we've got conference space, a few kitchens, one of them a kosher kitchen.
What made you buy this building?
Here. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I just bought a couple of tchotchkes.
Yeah.
You bought a building.
Yeah. But I actually paid less.
Bought the Bell Works building.
I paid less for the building than you paid for this.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I'd like to find the same deal.
Okay. So, it's a long story, but in a nutshell, we created enough value on the land outside the building. If you drive in, you'll see there's over 200 homes that were built and sold, and those created more than enough value to pay for the entire building. So we actually bought the building for -0, although it then took quite a few $100 million to redevelop it.
Uh-huh.
But we walked in, and when you want to do something like this, the key is you really have to steal it. You can't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Oshi, your story matters. Let's talk is the slogan for our newest sponsor, the Serenity Center, which is a clinic for therapy and many other types of services that people need for mental health challenges. And I have to tell you that I did not want them to be a sponsor of ours until I tested them myself. And I sat down as a session paid by my insurance with the leader, Mordechai Weinberger, this person who has a radio show. He has live Zoom conferences with hundreds and thousands of people tuning in every single week. The reason why they do is because he is amazing. I sat with him for over an hour and I got the most out of it. And let me tell you, I did a lot of talking. He did a lot of listening. And I learned that the Serenity Center is a clinic that provides a service for therapy that's led and supervised by Mordechai Weinberger. And I see why they're so successful. And it's just something that, we need to mention more of. And I want the community of Rockland County and even beyond to know that if you need therapy, don't wait and push it off because it might be too expensive or you may not be aware of the perfect therapist. Go to Serenity Center, try them out. Insurance will most likely cover most, if not all, the charges, and you will get top-level service.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me. Like Mar-a-Lago, it's how Trump did. He bought it for pennies on the dollar, and then he turned it into a monster. So when you bought this building, what was your plan? What was your vision? What was your intent of buying this building?
Okay, so I have a background in residential development. Started with residential development and got into something that's known as new urbanism. So a lot of development, especially in suburbia, when you're outside of a city, it's what you call suburban sprawl. You're all over the place. There's cul-de-sac after cul-de-sac, and mind-numbing street after mind-numbing street, and everything is separated. Your shopping is separated from your home, and your office is separated from that. And so having everything all over the place, really, you end up pretty much designing cities for cars rather than for people, because you need a vehicle to get anywhere outside of a city. And new urbanism is an idea of more of a walkable community. We've done a lot of transit-oriented developments where we have a project called Westmont Station. We built a train station and built a community around it. The tracks were there. We didn't build the tracks.
Where's this?
In North Jersey, in Bergen County. It's in a municipality called Wood Ridge, New Jersey. There's about 1,500 homes there, apartments, there's some shops, and that was a parking lot of a factory. It's 75 acre.
Was this building your biggest project?
It might be a toss-up between the two, but this is definitely.
What's the other one?
Second. Westmont Station is pretty big as well, but this is probably bigger. We also now have Bellwork Chicagoland, which is almost as big, 1.6 million square feet. This is 2 million square feet.
Wow.
So when you get into the whole concept of new urbanism is very much a human scale environment, creating spaces for people and not so much for their cars or the fire truck or the garbage truck or everything else. You need them. They're a tool, but a lot of places you'll go and you look at the community and it looks like, oh, the main target of this development is the 3-car garage. That's the front face. There's a little door there for the people. Well, it's sort of a return to sanity and going back and saying, no, it's really all about the people. I don't need this huge front lawn. I want to bring the front porch closer to the street so when people walk by, they can interact. People feel better in spaces that have, you have a vista, you can see. There's a lot of science behind it. So we got into that. We've done some communities like that. Actually, there's a project in Lakewood, active adult project called Pine River Village that's designed that way with rear alleys and pedestrian streets, and not all the homes even open up to a drivable street. And it's really quaint, really great, and it's held up in value quite a bit since we introduced it. So that was already in my head, that type of thinking. Westmont Station also was a transit-oriented, walkable community. And then I walked into this building, a broker brought me in, and I had zero experience in office. I had done, at that point in my life, about 15 to 20,000 square feet of office, which was our office that we had, and that was it. So sometimes it's good not to know what you don't know.
Yes.
So that helped me because I was so fresh that I was able to look at everything with fresh eyes. And I walked in here and I said, this has the right scale. And I didn't know at the time, that Eero Saarinen, one of the greatest architects of all time, had designed it. And he was a master at scale and communication. He designed this building to be a collaborative, to cause cross-pollination, to bring, at the time, the greatest scientific center in the world. This was the Googleplex. Before there was Google, this was Bell Labs. This is where 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 scientists worked daily. Some of them, there was a scientist who just walked around backwards all day thinking and created the world that we live in today. So he designed this space to foster connectivity. So when I walked in without knowing all that, it hit me. And I said, if we could just take this and bring all these uses back together, retail and office and residential and hospitality and health, wellness and fitness and everything else, it could be amazing. And what you see upstairs is what went into my head at that moment. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and years, and should I say, siyata d'shmaya, a lot of help from God to make it happen. A lot of good people working alongside, and a lot of challenges along the way.
Wow. I've been in this building maybe a dozen times over my life. And I've been here particularly in the last couple of years about 5 times. Every time I come here, I see something new that I didn't see before. One time I came here and this place is like a shopping mall. I mean, there's all kinds of stores, all kinds of venues, but there's also like things happening, like activities, people playing basketball. There's a fair going on a little bit down the hall. Like wherever you turn is something entirely different. Like you've created an atmosphere where there's so many things happening all at once. It's fascinating. And this is for people who dare to dream. That's what this seems to me like. Like this is a very big task to go into something like this. Like, is this still a work in process? Like, are you looking to like monetize it? Are you going to make millions of dollars one day? Is this more of a project for you because you're passionate about it, or do you see a gold mine here?
Well, I think it's both. I'm a mercenary. Mm-hmm. So I do this for a living, and you don't go into a project like this. I mean, it's too monumental. To do it and not expect to make a significant profit. And thank God it's been, it had its ups and downs, but now we're 98% leased. On the office side, where I think we're pretty almost full on the retail side. The event space is, as you see, nonstop being used. So it's been a home run.
What's dominating the building here? Like, is it the office space, the retail space, the venues, entertainment? What's kind of really the biggest pull for this building?
So we have 1.2 million square feet of office, and that's the bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what pays the bills. The retail is here, although the retailers pay rent or they pay a percentage rent, but they're really here to create the place. It's called placemaking. They're here to make this an interesting place to work. I may have mentioned, we call this a MetroBurb, a metropolis in suburbia.
Wow.
Well, you have to have restaurants, and you have to have shops, and you can get your hair done, you can get your dog's hair done, you can get ballet classes, you can get Krav Maga and karate classes,
and then go back to your office.
What?
And then go back to your office.
Yes, but
or spend the entire day here.
Spend the day here.
Spend the entire day here.
Come in here on a Sunday when the offices are pretty much closed, and the place is full.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mob.
I've been here on a
And,
Sunday.
and it's full. We're actually happy that we just opened a kosher restaurant here, which was a goal of mine.
Congratulations. That's a big step.
Called Ms. Known, and we're very happy with it. And we looked for something that, our area doesn't need more steakhouses, there's
Right.
enough good ones. But we have a good Eyal Shani created Israeli street food, really, really high end. But you don't have to, take out a mortgage to go for lunch or
How
dinner.
did that happen, by the way? Because I just heard about this recently, this restaurant.
It was something we've been looking for years, and somebody connected us with the
Amazing.
Eyal's team, and they came down and they liked the space, and we.
Are you invested in this restaurant?
I am. Yes.
Are you invested in a lot of the stores here, and or you keep that separate?
No, that's pretty much the only one. Well, we do own the bar here as well. One of the bars, Barbella. After COVID, retailers were slow to come back, and we needed some life in the building. We owned a liquor license, so we just opened a bar.
You mentioned something that was new to me when I learned it, and I want our listeners to learn about this as well, is that when you own a retail space, that the tenants give you commissions as part or percentages. How does that work? Can you take us
Sometimes,
through that?
you can collect rent in many ways. One of the ways is just per square foot or per the space. And sometimes retailers will pay you a percentage-based rent. So
Of the
they'll
revenue.
take a certain of the revenue. They'll take a certain base to cover their expenses. Anything above that, we've had tenants that were on a percentage rent and came to us after a while and said, we really want to go on a fixed rent because they're doing so well. And we've done that. I think something that highlights this is during COVID. So we were about half full on our retail, and then the building shut down. You couldn't go anywhere. So offices can work from home, but what's a coffee shop going to do? So we offered every one of our retailers, we said, don't pay us any rent. We put them on percentage rent. If you sell a cup of coffee, you owe us 10 cents. If you don't sell us a cup of coffee, you owe us nothing.
Wow.
And we gave them 2 years because we knew, and you asked me, what's the most important? So what's most important financially is the office, but it's all an ecosystem. You need the lifeblood. You need that pedestrian street that we created. We call it On the Block at Bellworks. You need that so that it's not just another boring office place. Suburbia is full of half-empty buildings where people, especially after COVID, why would I want to go to the office? I can work at home and get more stuff done. A lot of people say, I come to the office to collaborate, to ideate, to communicate, and then I go home and I get my work done. So our leasing, we were at 70% about pre-COVID on the office. Post-COVID, we filled up, and our rental rates in some cases almost doubled, and at least went up by a third, because we became, if you want to have people coming into the office, if you really want them to be motivated to show up, this is the place.
Yeah. What's the coolest thing you have here? Not the most lucrative, the most money. What's just like something you're proud of, like, an interesting thing here that's really cool that people may not know about?
Well, we're building a pickleball court.
Good for you.
Right through the
Very smart. I love it. By the way, on behalf of all the pickleball players, and it's becoming very popular more and more, you're doing the right thing. We appreciate that.
But I'll tell you, it's hard to say. It's hard to say there's so many little things that are rewarding. But we're sitting here, so I'm looking at Bell Theater. So just give you an idea of how things evolve. So we had a group called Axelrod Ballet School, and they came here, and we gave them free space for 6 months, pop-up space. And today they've evolved into a full school, paying rent, and they brought close to $1 million in their own funds to rehabilitate our theater. We thought it was great, but now it's like world class. We have a 300-seat theater here. There's been PBS film shows here, and Grammy award-winning singers and who knows what, and off-Broadway shows. So it's more the evolution of saying to somebody, you go upstairs as a florist. The florist started with a little cart. Today they're like, we need more space. I'm sorry, we don't have more space. They're doing well. So I think we're most proud of the ability to have an ecosystem where people could grow. We have companies here that started when we had a Keurig machine, and I would bring bagel nosh in the morning from Lakewood and give it out for free to the few people that showed up in a vacant 2 million square foot vacant building. And I'm not going to mention the name of the company, but there's a guy who started and on a couch and got the free coffee, and he sold his company for tens of millions of dollars. And today's a good friend and an investor of ours, and we let him grow slowly as he filled up. So
Ralph,
those are the things that
I have to ask you. Somebody like yourself, when you came into this building and word got out, Ralph Zucker is going to be purchasing this building, I guarantee you there was a lot of those haters out there, naysayers. Really? He's going to buy this building? Is he crazy? Sounds to me like you're the kind of guy that's okay with taking risks. And you've taken risk before, and it must have paid off for you because you jumped into something like this. That this is a huge, huge project. Million things can go wrong, but I mean, this place is being successful. It's booming. So you're proving everybody wrong, and we're all happy for it. But where do you get this risk-taking business from? Like, most people don't have it in them. Like, how do you weren't nervous walking into something like this?
I was very nervous. And yeah, I'm in the business of, we do take risks. It doesn't always pan out. I say that, our type of real estate development is like prospecting for oil. You got to keep drilling. You're not going to hit a gusher every time you drill. And some wells are going to come up dry, and you're going to lose money. You got to keep drilling. I remember talking to Sam Halpern many, many years ago. Oliver Shalom of blessed memory, and I wanted to buy a property from him, and he wouldn't sell it to me. And I remember I was sitting there, and I was disappointed. And he looks at me and he says, and it also because I had a property next door, and he looks at me and says, young man. He says, young man. Those days he was still able to say it. He says, young man, the real estate is like it's like riding the horse. Sometimes the horse she goes. Sometimes the horse she stops. Sometimes the horse she sits down. Sometimes the horse rolls over. Young man, never get off the horse. And that's really how real estate is. You have to, people, I mean, we write about it on our website. I always say that I could hear people's eyes. People would pat me on the shoulder and say, hey, good luck. And then I could hear their eyes rolling behind my back, rolling their head. And actually, the New York Times wrote an article where they said the day we closed on the building, or the next day, there's an article in the New York Times, and they said, quoted an expert in the field, that we would never lease even 1 square foot in this building. So it's been very satisfying to prove the naysayers wrong. But it's been a real journey and a challenge. And don't think that, there aren't nights that you sit there and you say, what am I going to do? I must say that I've been blessed with also some great partners along the way, and not going to mention names, but I think that's been a key, and a supportive family. My wife who lets me take risks, and my family, and there's been ebbs and flows. But one thing I am proud of is that in our house, whether there was a crash of 2007, 2008, and everything became negative value. Either way, our home wasn't rocky because of that. So I think that helped me absorb those risks, because it wasn't all about the money.
I'm curious about your younger self. Where'd you grow up? How did you get into this? Can you give us a little bit of an insight?
How did you get started?
Yeah,
in
young
real
Ralph.
estate?
I was born in Baltimore, Maryland.
Okay.
My father passed away when I was very young. My mother remarried an Israeli, Rabbi Meir Wunder. We moved to Israel, by the way. We just named a grandson. He just passed away a few months ago, and this morning was my grandson's bris.
Oh,
And we
mazel
named me after him, so that's satisfying. And we moved to Israel. I lived there until I came back to go to Yeshiva Long Beach. I went to Lakewood. I got started into business when I needed a place to live. And
What does that mean?
I needed a place to live. And my wife said, we don't want to throw, those days rent was expensive. It was like $250 a month, and why should we?
Don't age yourself too much.
Right. It's fine. And maybe it was $300,
Right, okay.
whatever it was, till you got, and we looked, so we bought a house for $67,000 and borrowed some of the down payment. But it was a teeny little shack. It wasn't really a house. It was actually the garage. At one point, it had been the carriage house of the house in front of it. It's this little 45 by 150 lot on 11th Street in Lakewood, New Jersey. And when I bought it, all my friends are like, oh, you're on the other side of Route 9? Nobody lives there, and it was like really like a little bit crazy. But I fixed it up with my own hands. A lot of it. I mean, I had some people helping me, but I, put in insulation, put in the sheetrock, threaded pipe, brought the gas line in, really worked a lot on my own. And I realized that I had an ability to think in 3 dimension, to see something not flat, but understand what it might be. And now I know what that means. In those days, I just realized that I had a certain, I was able, so not that I wanted to go into the development business, but then, myself and another friend, we decided, well, we should sell our homes and buy something else. And we bought a piece of property for $100,000 that turned into 33 townhomes or semi-attached homes. And I sold out early because I needed to pay back the people that I borrowed the money from to buy that land. But I just got into it. So it was needing a place to live, understanding. Also it's helped me a lot is the ability to communicate. When you want to sell a vision to somebody, I to sell homes. And so I worked in every aspect. I worked in construction. I hired myself out as a GC. I had a kitchen design shop. One thing I know about this business today, I don't deal with that stuff. I thank God I have people to do it, but I understand every aspect of the thing. I know what it means to drive in a nail into a piece of sheetrock. I understand, and that gives me an ability to really understand what I'm doing. So that's really how I got into it. And
Ralph, there's a famous line that people say: everybody loves the view, but nobody loves the climb. It's very easy to judge someone in a position when they're successful and to say, wow, how did that person do it? It's impossible. They don't understand that there's a process. It took a long time. It didn't happen overnight. There were sleepless nights. There was pain. There was suffering. I always say it on the podcast. There's a guy that he talks about people, and asks them, people that are successful, like, have you ever been broke before in your life? And 10 out of 10 times, they always answer, yeah, of course.
absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
11 out of 11. Here we are.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, because I think people look at you and others that are successful, and they use it as motivation for themselves, that they want to as well make it in life one day. And they're seeing their lives right now that it's hard, it's difficult, they're failing. And they're like, I'm never going to get there. But no. That you're on your path to getting there. You're supposed to fail. You're supposed to fall down. This is part of the process. Tell people what that was like when you were broke and when you didn't have a whole lot, and what that struggle was like and what you told yourself during that time to keep going.
Well, I can go back to a couple economic cycles ago when the FDIC, I don't remember the exact years, but the FDIC sort of shut down. I'd just gotten into real estate. I had made some money on this first project that I sold. I went ahead and I was, I'm a real estate mogul. I made a few $100,000. And then I learned that I have to pay 50% of it in taxes, which I really didn't understand why. So that shriveled down to not much. And then I put it into a building and, a small building, and I thought I'd collect rent, and little by little, people stopped paying rent and who knows what. And I found myself very much struggling. I had a broken boiler. I needed to fix it. I hadn't understood the reserve, for that and things like that. So I found myself really, really, really struggling. I took over, like I said, a cabinet shop from a tenant who didn't pay rent, and all of a sudden now he was working for me, and I was in the kitchen cabinet business. And but what you don't realize is, in how God runs the world, is that and during that time I actually took a job as a GC. I wanted to understand construction better. I came home sometimes at night. I had worked a jackhammer, and I would cut the holes in the concrete floor for the plumbing to save money with the Hilti diamond sharpened blade and stuff like that. And I literally worked hands on in construction, and for next to nothing, but had to pay the bills. I remember that in those days, Lakewood Cheder, was cracking down on people who weren't paying tuition. I had kids in school, and I was a little bit behind. And I remember, getting a letter saying, I knew there's a letter coming out that if you haven't paid your bills, your kids are not going to be let on the bus. And inside that letter was the bus pass. Because they knew that when I gave them, and I always give them. So somebody there, Rabbi Manis, knew me, and he knew I was good for it, and it would. But that was a tough time. I was in the middle of a project. All of a sudden, everything was worth nothing. Land was negative, and I had to pay architects, engineers, and lawyers that had been working, and I had to pay them. And went to all of them and said, "I'll pay you every penny, but it's going to take time." And we worked with everybody. So that was one time. And then because I was in the cabinet business, somebody, a Rebbe of mine said, Ruby Schroen bought a building in Tuckerton, New Jersey. They need cabinets. Go down. So I went down. I met Avi Schroen, now a good friend of mine, and we were looking around, and they had bought this dilapidated apartment complex that needed to be gut rehab. And he said to him, "You need a lot more than kitchens. You need to rehab this whole thing." He says, "Absolutely. Do you know anybody who could do it?" I said, "I can do it. This is what I just did. I just worked for somebody else rehabbing an apartment complex. I do it with my own hands. I can do it." So fine, we made a deal, and a few days later, a $10,000 check retainer came in the mail, and I was able to pay my tuition for the cheder. So I know what it's like to really, really be down and out. In 2007, when the whole real estate market collapsed, again, we owned then thousands of lots and land and everything, and that had been worth fortunes, and all of a sudden it was worth nothing. And again, I was blessed with the good partners and everything, and we worked our way through it, but tough times.
You were walking around at that time, 2007. You were in the dumps. Like, what were you? Were you feeling ashamed? Were you feeling bad, or were you still feeling positive? I'll get through it. What were you telling yourself?
End of 2007, 2008 is when I went to contract on this building.
Wow! So you rebounded quick.
One way to get over something.
I was like,
you made a lavish purchase. They say when people are down and they're depressed, they make big purchases.
I wasn't depressed and I wasn't down. But,
wow! Yeah. So fast forward now to this point, Baruch Hashem, things are better. Things are, you're not having to wait to send a $10,000 check for tuition. What's your life like? Let us in a little bit. What's your life like right now? Are you a big spender? Do you like to
travel?
Do you travel? What do you do for fun?
Time for me to go.
Time for none of your business. It sounds like.
That's
what do you like to do outside of work? If you're not working right now, you're going on vacation. What are some of your guilty pleasures? What are some of those fun things that you like to do?
Love to go to Yerushalayim. Love to go to Israel. We bought a house there, and we really like. A lot of my friends are buying stuff in Florida and here and there and everything. And I'm like, if I have 2 weeks off, I'm going to Shai Chesed. That's So and I grew up there to a large extent, so it's in my heart. I guess that's you could call it in a way a guilty pleasure. Just getting there today is even more challenging than ever. What do I like to do? I mean, family, friends. Embarrassed to say, I spend too much time working. These type of things really take over,
like the rest of us.
Your life. And
what's that one thing that people will be surprised to learn about you? Something that people may not know, but it's true. secretly you juggle. You're very talented at juggling. Tell us something about that might surprise people.
I wanted to take a job as a 10th grade Rebbe.
Ooh.
I was learning in yeshiva in Lakewood, and I was offered a job. In those days, it was impossible. There were very few yeshivas, and I was offered a good job as a 10th grade Rebbe in Far Rockaway. And I went to tell my Rosh Yeshiva, Yitzchak Fedelstock, that I was so proud that I got that. I went to the Faher, Rabbi Freifeld, and and he looks at me and he says, "You can't be a Rebbe."
It's not for you.
He felt so bad for those kids. You can't. I was like shocked. I was like, "When these your own life?" He says, "Yes, but not for you.
Yeah,
you can't. This is not for you." He really pushed me very much to go into business.
Wow. Okay.
I have to tell you, if I was young starting off, I would want to follow you all day just to learn from you.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone that's done that in your life that has been like a protege, someone that, was able
I have people who work with me that have come in as interns and little by little.
And grew from there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Giving them that opportunity?
Yeah. Quite a few people. That's something I'm very proud of. A lot of people have, we've grown together,
Yeah. I was literally talking to a young kid. He's in his early 20s, and he just started a new job, and in the property management field and in construction and rehab as well. And he just started this job a few months ago. And he told me that right now, his boss, who convinced him to come work there, he's like very out of touch, doesn't really communicate with him, barely sees him. And he doesn't feel like he's learning, like he's getting that training. And I said, well, that's a big red flag. I said, it's a big problem. I said, you'd rather go somewhere where they're not even paying you, but they're willing to teach you. Because you're young, you want to build a craft for yourself, you want to master something, you got to learn. You have an opportunity, you get education, you have a lot to offer. You've been through a lot. You have a tremendous amount of experiences. And there'd be a lot of people that would line up that would want to learn from you. So, do you have something like that? Do you have people that are, well, you're too busy. You're still doing your own thing.
From time to time, we've done internships, and some of the people who work for me today started out as interns. From time to time, like for example, PCS will call me down and say, can you give a class on real estate development? I love doing that and sharing some of that stuff. Or Rutgers, and I used to go to Rutgers actually to teach a class. I stopped because of, it's not really a great environment today for us.
Oh, yeah.
So I was pretty upset about that. And I let them know that until things, few of us did that and we pulled out of, I used to go there. So I love giving that over. There's no question about it. It is a challenge sometimes to find the time. But the people who work with me are mostly, I'm very hands-on until I feel that they have got it. And then I
and you know how to let them go and
I try to. It's not always so easy, but
we have an interview tomorrow with a 13-year-old boy.
Yes, we do.
Who started his own car washing business. And he wakes up every morning at 5:30 and he starts his business at 6:30 and it goes throughout the day. What would be your advice for someone like that? Starting off a business young.
He left school. He's not in school anymore. He's running a legitimate business.
He's half in school.
He is half in school.
Still getting his education, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But he is running his business full time. He has 2 vans, 4 workers. What would be your message for someone like that?
Don't let your business consume your life. You're still a kid, 13 years old. Work hard, but, learn, have fun. You got to know more than just how to wash a car. I mean, running a business is great. It's definitely, it's a great experience. And I definitely not one of those who subscribe that everybody has to be, not everybody's cut out to be in yeshiva all day. Every Chanoch Lanar Pidarko, every kid has got their requirements and everything. And my own kids, some of them learning, some of them working. That's the way it should be. But if you're going to be obsessive compulsive at such a young age, just about making money, it's got its own challenges. So don't forget that you're still a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah. All right. Final question. I'll ask one final, and Michael, you ask.
I don't want this to happen.
I feel bad. I see him looking at his watch. He's like, Paige is going to come beating us up any minute over here.
All right. Fine. Go. Get one question. I get one question. Then you get one question. How about that? Okay.
Love it. I love that. Each one of us. Yes, one more question.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Here's my question. You've done a lot. You've accomplished a lot. When you're gone in 50 years from now, Okay.
Did a math one.
60 years?
Okay.
70 years? Something?
Yeah, okay.
After 120.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And not for things, personal, not for how much tzedakah you've given or how much mitzvahs you've done. Well, let's leave that aside, put a pin in that. But what other accomplishments have you done that you would want people to remember you for? Would it be this building and what you've accomplished here and what you still plan on accomplishing here? Something, anything that you would feel like, if people know that this is what I accomplished, I feel proud.
Well, I feel proud that we've brought a lot of integrity to everything that we do. Both in terms of financially, every industry has its, challenges and temptations. And I think we run a very moral shop and with a lot of integrity. And, that's actually saved us sometimes from disaster. So that's good. And when we see where an area is just too corrupt to work in, we won't work in that. We won't work in that city or town or neighborhood or whatever it is. And I'm proud of the fact that, when we came here, let's take a lot of communities. So take Westmont Station, take Bellworks here, take Bellworks Chicagoland. Pretty much anywhere we've gone, our reputation has been, we want more. It's not like, oh, you came here and you totally destroyed us. You've made this worse and that worse and everything. You just milked us dry. But people actually come back and say, we want more of what you've done. Our project outside of Chicago is in a village called the Village of Hoffman Estates. It's a suburb of Chicago. They came here and they said, we need you to come to us to do for us what you've done here. So it took us 5 years to convince Holmdel Township to allow us to do what we want to do because nobody had done it. And frankly, they didn't trust us that much that we actually meant we're going to do what we said we're going to do. Nobody believed it. Not their fault. I'm a developer, right? Today, when we walk into a municipality and we say this is what we're going to do, they have a lot of trust. I'm proud of the fact that people will hand us literally the key to the city, the key to the village, the key to the town. They'll say, thank you for what you've done. And there's not one instance that's not correct. So I think that legacy, as a developer, you're saying leave beside everything else. That's very, very proud of that.
I love it.
That's amazing. Only one?
Only one, Michael.
Okay. I really want to know who your mentor was in life and who you looked up to and a path that you followed or...
You're talking in business?
I'm talking about in life.
That's a very, very tough question. There's really no easy answer to that because I've been very, very blessed to have a lot of really good people, and I'll leave family outside. Aside. But I was very, very close to Mara Shiva Bitzek Fegelstock, Alav Shalom, very close to Matisyahu Solomon. I traveled the world with Matisyahu Solomon.
What does that mean?
Russia, here, there. We were.
Wow.
I spent days and nights with him in different community things back in the day. I learned a lot from him, and I think that's so. Those are the rabbinic and David Shustel. I learned with him Chavrusa for many years. So there's a lot of people that in terms of on the not just the religious learning scale, but also in what's important in life and what's on the other hand. I must say that, having a partnership with someone like Ruby Schroen, who's a prince of a person, and has a certain very, very clear common sense in what he does and a sense of direction and ability to cut to the chase. Watching that and seeing that and learning, how to navigate a lot of things was also important. So if I was going to pick one mentor in business that really affected me a lot, but there have been a lot of other people. So
that's great. That's great. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions for us?
Yeah. How do you guys say so excited about everything you do? You sound like you really care and you really want to hear the answers and everything. That's a pretty good.
We're passionate for life. We really enjoy everything that we do.
I think we have different answers for this question.
Yeah.
By the way. You can give your answer. I would say my answer is that people give me energy, and I believe that God rests within each of us. So the energy just comes out when you speak to people. And I always tell people, just get out of your house, go meet people, go to a shul just to meet people.
That's great.
And, get out there and get energized with the people that are around you. So you've brought a tremendous amount of energy to this conversation and our podcast. And it was an honor sitting with you today. And I really appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. I'll leave you with one thought that I love to, people look at us and they say, look what you've done. And I really say, we look at ourselves very much that we, thank God, are blessed to be able to create, whether it's a residential community or a building like Bellworks or anything else. We create the canvas, a place for people to paint the picture of their daily life. But it's the people that fill in the painting and paint the picture. So we're happy to facilitate that, but it's really all about the people.
That's absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. I have to tell you on a side note, I was in Shari Tzedek, in Shari Chesed, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I lived in Shari Chesed in the late 90s. Yeah. And I had the honor of walking Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach to shul for 2 weeks until he passed away. Wow. And that was my memory back then. But you lived there back then as well in the 90s?
No.
It was earlier?
6 years.
Oh, okay.
Just the last 6 years.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And I know I only got one question, but my other question is, can we hang out in Israel?
Sure, absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Absolutely.
I'd love to spend time with you over there.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I enjoyed it. I didn't think I would enjoy it, but thank you very much.
Thank you so much.